Hey guys, I'm Mr. Mills, and today we're going to be simplifying expressions using the distributive property. Okay, so I have kind of this long expression here, and there's nothing really to sub in. Our final answer is not just going to end up being a number per se, right? Like it's not just going to be 17. We will still have x's in our final answer. We're just going to try to simplify everything as much as we can by distributing and then combining like terms. Okay, so I set up this problem here that kind of has everything that you might need to use when you're simplifying longer expressions like this, at least in an Algebra 1 class. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I have all these things on the outside of parentheses, and I know I'm going to need to distribute them. So let's start by taking this negative 2x and distributing that inside to the parentheses as much as I can. Okay, so this negative 2x is going to go to both of these things, okay? And negative 2x times 3 is negative 6x. And then negative 2x times negative 4, well, the two negatives reduce each other and make a positive, right? Because two negatives make a positive. And then 2 times 4 gets me 8x. Okay? Now, it's important to know that if you wanted to, could you have simplified this 3 times negative 4? Yes, you 100% could have done that, and you will get the same answer in the end. However, because we're talking about using the distributive property, I like to think, hey, I'm just going to use the distributive property first and get that done with and out of the way. Okay? Next, I have this set of parentheses here. Now, since this 4 is right next to this set of parentheses, even though it's kind of weird because it comes after the parentheses, it's still right next to it, right? So there's still like two partners right next to each other. So I'm going to take this 4 and I'm going to have to distribute him into these parentheses as well. Right? So he's going to have to go to both the to both the 2 and to the x. Okay, so I have this plus sign here, so plus. 4 times 2 is going to get me 8. And then 4 times x is going to get me 4x. Which is weird, right? Because usually we like that number to be on the front side. However, this one, it was on the back side of the parenthesis. Nonetheless, you still have to distribute it through to the parenthesis, to everything inside the parenthesis. Okay? And then the last thing we're going to have to distribute here is, hey, there's not really a number in front of the parenthesis, but there is that negative symbol, and negative symbols they're kind of destructive, right? They mess everything up. So I'm going to distribute this negative through to everything as well. If you want to, you can think of that negative as a negative 1. If that helps you think, that's totally fine. So I'll write a negative 1 there, right? It's the same type of thing. But now that negative 1 is going to have to be distributed into everything inside this parenthesis. So that negative 1 is going to go to the x, and it's also going to go to my positive 2 right there. Okay? And so then negative 1 times x is going to get me a minus 1x. And then negative 1 times 2 is going to get me a minus 2. Okay? Now, I have really one more step here. This is a pretty long expression, and I think we can simplify it if we put our minds to it. So I have all of these terms with x's, and then I have a couple terms that do not have x's, no variables with them at all, just constants. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and try to combine all my like terms. So I'm going to take everything that does have an x. So this has an x, this has an x, this has an x, and this has an x. And these are all like terms, right? Like these are the apples of the problem. So I'm going to combine all of my apples together, all of my x's together. So I have a negative 6x plus an 8x plus a 4x minus a 1x. When I combine all of those together, I get negative 6x plus 8x is 2x, plus another 4x is 6x, and then minus 1x is 5x. So I have 5x's total. Okay, so 5 x. Okay, but then I still have some terms that I haven't used yet. These are like the oranges of the problem, right? So I have an 8 here, and then I have a minus 2 over here, right? And I can combine this 8 and my minus 2. 8 minus 2 is a positive 6. So positive 6, okay? And now I'm just left with a term that has an x with it. This is an apple. And then I'm left with a term that has no x's with it. So this is an orange, just a constant. So I can't really do much else here. So I think I'm done with the problem. And I think we'd all agree that this expression right here is much, much simpler than what I originally started with. Okay? So combine those terms as much as you possibly can, and you will get something that looks similar to this. Thank you for watching.